I wasn't looking for anything when I joined that office. Not attention, not trouble, and definitely not someone else's husband. I had just moved cities after a bad breakup, still licking the wounds of a relationship that left me more hollow than heartbroken. The new job was supposed to be a reset. Clean slate, new apartment, different skyline. I told myself I'd keep my head down, be professional, be invisible, and for a while, I was. Then came him, Jason. Tall, calm, married. He wasn't loud or charming or the type who flirted shamelessly. In fact, he was the opposite. Reserved, almost quiet to a fault. But when he spoke, it was like the noise around him dimmed. And when he looked at you, it felt like he saw you. Our first interaction was at the copy machine. The toner jammed. I swore under my breath. He leaned over with a slight smile and said, "Don't worry, this thing eats hope for breakfast." I laughed, genuinely for the first time in weeks. That's all it took. A broken printer, a shared moment, the smallest crack in the dam. We weren't even in the same department, but after that, we started crossing paths more often than coincidence could explain. Lunch breaks near the back window, running into each other in the stairwell. Casual chats about project deadlines that stretched into 30-minute tangents about childhood cartoons or worst vacations. Every time I reminded myself he's married, another part of me whispered, "But he doesn't talk about her." And he didn't. No photos on his desk, no wedding ring. Just the faint outline of where one used to be. When I asked, once, gently, he simply said, "She's a teacher, long hours, opposite schedules." Then changed the subject. I knew I should have stopped there. That should have been my sign to back away. But instead, I leaned in. We never touched, not at first. But our conversations turned slower, more personal. He told me about his insomnia. I told him about my panic attacks. He said he hated when people assumed men don't cry. I told him I hadn't hugged anyone in over 6 months. We were unraveling in front of each other, and calling it connection. 1. Thursday afternoon, he passed by my desk and dropped off a coffee. I hadn't ordered it. He just knew what I liked. I told myself it was a nice gesture, a kind gesture. That's all. But I held onto the cup for hours, not because I needed caffeine, but because it had his name scribbled on the side, Jason. By then, the office whispers had begun. I'd catch them. Tiny glances, murmured "mm-hms" when we walked by together. But I ignored them. Or worse, I let them feel flattering. He never made a move. Not physically, not directly. But there was always this charge between us. Like standing too close to an open flame and pretending not to feel the heat. I started staying late more often. Volunteering for tasks I had no business owning. My boss noticed. She said, "You're really taking initiative lately." I just smiled and nodded. Truth was, I didn't want to go home, because home was quiet. And here, Jason made things feel loud again. Alive. Dangerous. One night, after everyone had left, we found ourselves in the break room. Fluorescent lights buzzing. A half-eaten donut between us. He was talking about how tired he felt. How he barely slept anymore. I said something like, "Maybe you should take a weekend off." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then he said it. "I don't know who I am outside of this place anymore." And I replied, without thinking, "Maybe we're both just pretending." He looked at me, really looked at me, and something shifted. We didn't touch that night, but something far worse happened. We understood each other, and from that moment on, everything started slipping. It happened on a Tuesday, the kind of day that starts forgettable. Overcast, lukewarm coffee, 3 pointless meetings before noon, and ends in a way you can never take back. We had been dancing around each other for weeks, long looks across the office, barely there touches when passing files, inside jokes coded in glances. And then came that meeting. It was late. Everyone else had already left. The lights in the main office were dimmed, just the two of us under that cold glow of the conference room fluorescents. I don't remember what we were discussing. Some budget file. Maybe marketing data. None of it mattered. What I do remember is how close we were sitting. Too close. We both reached for the same pen. Our fingers touched. I pulled away fast, like I'd touched fire. But he didn't flinch. He just looked at me. There was a pause. The kind of pause that hums louder than sound. The kind of silence that isn't empty. It's electric. He said, "You're always so careful." And I said, "So are you." He leaned in, just slightly, and whispered, "Maybe we're both tired of pretending, and I should have stood up. I should have left. I should have remembered the wedding photos I once glimpsed on his old phone, screen when he thought no one was looking. But I didn't. Instead, I kissed him. Just once. But long enough. Long enough for everything to change. It wasn't passionate. It wasn't cinematic. It wasn't even particularly good. But it was real. It was the sound of a boundary breaking, and I knew right there, sitting in that glass-walled room, that nothing between us would ever be innocent again. When we pulled apart, he looked devastated. Not guilty, not ashamed, just tired. As if he'd been carrying the weight of his marriage and his longing and his regret all at once. And now I had touched it, and it had touched me back. We didn't say much after that, just awkward laughs. A quick pack-up of papers. A mumbled, "See you tomorrow," that didn't sound like it meant anything. I barely slept that night. My mind raced through every frame. His mouth, my breath, the slight tremble in his hand after. I kept asking myself, why did I do that? Why did he let me? And worst of all, why didn't I feel bad enough to stop? The next morning, we acted like nothing happened. Same coffee machine chatter, same half smiles. But there was this tension, like we had opened a door that refused to close. By the end of the week, we kissed again. This time, in the elevator. The doors had barely shut. I remember pressing the emergency stop, not because it was romantic, but because I wanted it. I wanted the danger. I wanted to feel something that wasn't numb. That kiss was different. Hungry, angry, desperate, and it didn't stop there. We found ways to see each other outside the office, under the pretense of work. Late-night email reviews at his apartment. Strategy planning over wine. I never asked about his wife. He never volunteered anything. There was a night when I saw a baby bottle drying on the edge of his kitchen sink. I stared at it for a long time. He noticed, said, "We don't talk," about the baby, and I, heart pounding, lips trembling, just nodded. That night, I should have walked out. But I didn't. Because by then, I was in too deep. And deep down, I think part of me wanted to be caught, to be punished. Because at least then, someone would stop me before I destroyed everything. The email came on a Monday. Subject line: Please report to HR, 11 hours a.m. sharp. That's all it said. No explanation, no names copied. Just that cold, clinical font that made my stomach turn. I didn't even tell him. But when I walked past his desk and saw his screen, the same email was open. He looked up at me, just briefly. His eyes said everything. We knew. Something had happened. The air in the elevator was heavy that morning. Neither of us spoke. My fingers trembled as I pressed the button. I remember trying to rehearse excuses in my head. It was just a misunderstanding. We were working late. Nothing inappropriate. I don't even know what you're talking about. Lies. All of them. When we walked into the HR conference room, 2 people were already there. A woman from compliance I'd only seen in orientation, and a man with a closed folder and a blank expression. They didn't ask us to sit. They didn't offer water. They just dimmed the lights and hit play. I didn't breathe for 40 seconds. The footage was clear, crystal clear. There we were, in the elevator. His hand in my hair, my back pressed to the wall. A kiss that wasn't brief or accidental. My face, my mouth, my body betraying every code of professionalism. And then, the screen went black. No one spoke for a moment. Then the man with the folder said, "Do either of you deny this occurred within company property during business hours?" He didn't say anything. Not a word. He just looked down, like a boy caught stealing. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. My throat was thick, my chest hollow. There was nothing to say, they continued. You both are in violation of the company's code of conduct. Mr. Raines, your directorial position makes this especially serious. Ms. Allen, you'll be contacted with separation paperwork this afternoon. We recommend you submit your resignation today to avoid escalation. I barely heard the rest. Ethics Committee. Misuse of internal resources. Possible termination. Disciplinary review. My ears were ringing. What rang louder, though, was the silence from him. Jason. The man who once knew my coffee order. The man who held me like I meant something. He didn't look at me. Not once. When they excused us, I stood up too fast. My legs almost gave out. I walked out of that room shaking, humiliated, skin hot with shame. He stayed. Behind? I don't know if they asked him more questions or if he just didn't want to walk out beside me. Either way, I left alone, and everyone in the office knew. I don't know how. Maybe someone saw the footage. Maybe word just spreads faster than air in corporate buildings. But the whispers came quickly. By the time I got to my desk, someone had already removed my nameplate. There was a post-it stuck on my screen. Hope it was worth it. That was the moment I felt it. The bottom falling out. The shame hardening in my stomach like concrete. I packed my things in silence. No one offered help. No one made eye contact. Even the receptionist, the same woman I'd shared lunch with just 2 weeks earlier, turned away when I walked past. I wanted to disappear. Before I reached the elevator, I looked back. Jason was at his desk, face pale, fingers clenched. His phone was buzzing. I saw the name flash on his screen. Hannah, wife. Then it went dark, and so did I. The next morning, I didn't go in. I told myself I needed time to process, that I had to figure things out. Truth was, I couldn't face their eyes, the whispers, the silence, the feeling that everyone knew exactly who I was and what I'd done. But then came the message from our mutual coworker, Janine. She's here. Just 2 words. But I knew exactly what they meant. His wife. She had come to the office. I grabbed my coat and rushed in. I don't even know why. Maybe guilt, maybe fear, maybe some twisted sense of responsibility. I just knew I couldn't hide anymore. When I arrived, the lobby was quiet, unnaturally quiet. No one at the front desk, no one chatting at the coffee machine. Just a cluster of frozen stares and awkward postures, as if the entire floor had been dropped into glass. Then I saw her. She wasn't what I expected. No mascara-streaked face, no screams, no flying coffee mugs or security calls. She was calm. Heartbreakingly calm. A petite woman in a soft gray sweater, jeans, and flat shoes. No makeup, no jewelry, except for a thin gold wedding band, still on her finger, and in her arms, a child, no more than 2. Big brown eyes, cheeks red from the cold, sucking. Absently on a pacifier. The baby looked just like him. Jason stood 10 feet away, stiff as a statue, hands in his pockets, eyes on the floor. He didn't say a word. She walked toward him slowly, balancing the baby on her hip like it weighed nothing and everything at once. People watched. No one breathed. I stood in the back, hidden behind a row of cubicles, half of me praying she wouldn't see me, the other half hoping she would. She stopped in front of him. He lifted his eyes, just for a second. She didn't slap him. She didn't cry. She just asked, quietly, painfully, with a strength I could never understand. Was she worth it? His lips parted, but no words came out. The child shifted in her arms, reaching up to tug gently at her collar. She kissed the baby's forehead, then looked back at Jason. I hope she was, she said, because you lost everything else. And then she turned around. Just like that. No scene, no chaos, just finality. As she walked toward the elevator, our eyes met, hers and mine. She held my gaze, for 2 seconds, maybe less, but I felt it, like a blade to the chest. Not hate, not rage, just pity. It was worse than anything else. She didn't see me as a threat. She saw me as a mistake. Someone who ruined her life and didn't even get the man in the end. I wanted to run to her, apologize, say something, anything, that might soften the damage. But I didn't. Because what do you say to the woman whose life you helped tear apart? I'm sorry isn't enough. It never is. The elevator doors closed, and she was gone. Jason left 10 minutes later. He didn't look at me, didn't speak. He just walked out, jacket over his shoulder, head low. By noon, the company sent out an internal memo. Effective immediately, Jason Raines is no longer employed at this company. We wish him the best. No one replied. No one needed to. His desk was cleared by 3 p.m. My resignation had already been submitted. I didn't wait for a reply. That night I packed my things, left the city. I didn't say goodbye to anyone, didn't call my parents. I just drove, past the bridges, past the traffic, past the buildings where it all happened. It was over. At least, I thought it was. I thought leaving the city would be enough. That if I packed my bags, deleted the photos, changed my number, I could outrun the shame. Start over, pretend none of it ever happened. I was wrong. You can change your surroundings. You can move to a quieter street, take a less demanding job, smile at strangers who know nothing about you. But you can't run from what lives inside your chest. It follows you, in the silence of your apartment, in the way your phone never rings anymore, in the look on your new boss's face when she says, "Let's hope we can count on your discretion." In this role, I live smaller now. No office gossip, no late nights, no complications. Just me, my laptop, and the weight of a past that no one can see. But I feel it every time I look in the mirror. Sometimes I wonder what happened to Jason. Last I heard, he moved states, tried consulting for a while. Someone said he tried to reconcile with his wife, but no one knows if it worked. I hope he did. I hope that child grows up without the burden of what we did. Because that's the part that still haunts me. Not the job I lost, not the rumors, not even the label, homewrecker, that still floats in the undercurrent of my thoughts. What haunts me is that baby, his tiny fingers clinging to her sweater, his eyes looking around, too young to understand, but old enough to feel the tension in that room. He didn't ask for any of this. None of them did. There are nights I still see her in my dreams, his wife, standing in the office lobby, saying those 5 words like a sentence I'll carry the rest of my life. I hope she was worth it. And the thing is, I wasn't. I wasn't worth the broken vows, the child's tears, the lost trust, the slow erosion of a good man who got lost in a moment of weakness and found a mirror in me. People think the other woman is always this confident seductress, this heartless villain who gets what she wants and doesn't care about the damage. But I wasn't that. I was weak, lonely, craving connection and mistaking it for love. I thought I was special because he chose me, in secret. But now I know. The secret isn't a gift. It's a prison. I don't date anymore. I can't bring myself to. Because every time someone leans in to kiss me, I flinch. Every time someone asks, "Why did your last job end?" I lie. Because if I told the truth, they'd never look at me the same way. And maybe that's fair. Because I'm not the same either. I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself. I don't know if I deserve to. This isn't a redemption arc. It's not a cry for sympathy. It's just the truth. My truth. One kiss. One choice. One moment. That cost me everything I didn't even know I had. I carry that moment with me. Always. Not as a scar I show off, but as a weight I carry quietly. Because some mistakes don't ruin your life instantly, they just settle into it and stay there.